Chapter 2740, Devilish Wind Kings backing Devilish Wind King, you've hidden so deeply. Saber Master tightened his fists as his eyes were filled with anger while he stared at Devilish Wind King and the figure that suddenly appeared beside him. However, Devilish Wind King only smiled coldly. On the other hand, the figure beside him was a bald man that was almost 2 meters tall. The bald man seemed lifeless without a hint of vitality and was another corpse puppet. However, gentle golden lights were being released from his body. Gold-armored corpse puppet. The bald man was a gold-armored corpse puppet. Previously, they chose to run without any hesitation when they were in the cemetery as they did not dare to fight a gold-armored corpse puppet whenever they came across one. Every gold-armored corpse puppet had the combat power of a peak grand ultimate god. However, the Devilish Wind King had waved his hand and taken out a gold-armored corpse puppet at that moment. Saber Master, I have to admit that both items that you previously obtained during these 2 trips to the secret realm, the purple clock on your body and the holy treasure battle saber, are extremely rare. The precious items you obtained must be the best compared to the rest. Unfortunately, my luck is better than yours. Devilish Wind King smiled. The first item I obtained 50 years ago when I came to this secret realm with all of you is this gold-armored corpse puppet. The item I obtained this time is also a corpse puppet. Devilish Wind King once again waved his hand as he spoke before another figure appeared beside him. It was another corpse puppet but with a gentle silver light being released from its body. It was a silver-armored corpse puppet. A gold-armored corpse puppet and a silver-armored corpse puppet stood next to the Devilish Wind King with one on the right while the other on the left. Devilish Wind King had a ghastly smile on his face. Saber Master's expression had grown extremely dark. He never imagined the 2 precious items Devilish Wind King obtained from the secret realm were 2 corpse puppets. The silver-armored corpse puppet was still fine, but he even obtained a gold-armored corpse puppet which had the combat power comparable to a peak grand ultimate god. No wonder you tried your best to get them to kill me. You wanted to get rid of the others with my power before dealing with me using your full strength, said Saber Master in a low voice. Devilish Wind King also directly admitted, indeed, if I directly took action when Hong Chen and Long Shenzi were still here, I'll still be able to overpower all of you with the gold-armored corpse puppet. However, if you were able to keep the gold-armored corpse puppet occupied for a moment, Hong Chen and Long Shenzi would be able to take action and could have easily killed me as I'm quite weak. However, Hong Chen and Long Shenzi have died while Su-Han escaped, leaving just the 2 of us. Apart from that, the power from Long Xianz's meteorite bead just now had wounded you. Under such circumstances, the gold-armored corpse puppet from my 2 corpse puppets would be enough to kill you while the silver-armored corpse puppet will be guarding me, leaving you with no opportunities. You're sure to die. Kill. Devilish Wind King yelled coldly and ordered the gold-armored corpse puppet beside him. The 2 meters tall gold-armored corpse puppet's horrendous aura was immediately unleashed. Its humongous body transformed into a stream of golden light before directly attacking Saber Master. Saber Master's facial expression darkened as he immediately swung the battle saber in his hands. A glaring crimson saber light fiercely slashed outward. Saber Master had activated a huge portion of the holy treasure's power. However, the gold-armored corpse puppet did not retreat when seeing the crimson saber light. It also had a huge saber in his hands and straightforwardly slashed forward fiercely. Clank! The crimson saberlight immediately dimmed down with a loud bang as Saber Master was sent flying backward. The power of a peak grand ultimate god, Saber Master's facial expression darkened. It was true that he was extremely strong and considered one of the top powerhouses among high-level grand ultimate gods. He was almost invincible among high-level grand ultimate gods when combined with his holy treasure. Ordinary high-level grand ultimate gods such as Hong Chen and Long Shenzi were easily defeated by him even though they had used many means and precious items. However, he was unable to compete against a true peak grand ultimate god regardless of how powerful he was. The gold-armored corpse puppet indeed had the combat power of a peak grand ultimate god. Apart from that, the gold-armored corpse puppet was too peremptory. He was much more brutal compared to Saber Master and was extremely fast as the gold-armored corpse puppet rushed toward Saber Master. The saber in his hands was extremely strong as he waved it crazily, purely suppressing Saber Master with his strength. The saber light was swift and carried thunderous power as it completely locked onto Saber Master. Saber Master could only helplessly withstand the attack with his saber. However, he was completely crushed by the gold-armored corpse puppet's terrifying power during every collision, with the residual power affecting the purple clock on the surface of his body. Every collision carried such results, and after dozens of times, the purple color of the purple clock on the surface of his body had become extremely dull, as though it was going to completely break. D***, I can't hold it anymore. Saber Master's complexion had turned slightly pale. Although the purple clock was a powerful defensive item, it was not completely invincible. The purple clock soon reached its endurance limit after repeatedly facing such strong impacts over and over again under such collision and overpowering strikes. Finally, the purple clock covering Saber Master's body directly broke with a loud bang. A strong collision directly impacted Saber Master's divine body and caused him to let out a muffled humph as blood immediately trickled from the corners of his mouth. Ha ha! He finally fails to withstand the attack. Gold-armored corpse puppet, kill him. Devilish Wing King had been observing from a void not far away and was delighted when he saw the purple clock on Saber Master's body surface had broken down. Saber Master naturally entailed strenuous effort to withstand the gold-armored corpse puppet without the purple clock's protection. His divine body had also failed to withstand the continuous collisions, hence his wounds worsened while his aura grew weaker. Saber Master had undoubtedly been forced to his very limits. I'll die if this continues. Saber Master looked at the dark voids around him with cold eyes. It was not that he did not want to escape, but he was different from Jian Wushuang. He was unfamiliar with space-time law and could not travel speedily. Apart from that, the gold-armored corpse puppet was much faster than him and would not give him any chance to escape. He also thought about killing Devilish Wing King, but the gold-armored corpse puppet blocking him was giving huge pressures, disabling him to do anything else. The most important matter was Devilish Wind King still had a silver-armored corpse puppet by his side. Even if he was lucky enough to get rid of the gold-armored corpse puppet and arrived in front of Devilish Wing King could still stop him by getting the silver-armored corpse puppet to take action. Just when Saber Master was forced into desperation and thinking hard to form countermeasures. Saber Master's expression suddenly wavered because he noticed a figure had arrived in the void not far behind Devilish Wind King. Chapter 2741, finally made a move. Isn't this Su-Han? Saber Master narrowed his eyes. He was not the only person who noticed Jian Wushuang, who had appeared in the void behind him. Devilish Wind King noticed it as well. Alliance Master Su-Han, you're so daring to return? Devilish Wind King turned around and glanced at Jian Wushuang with a cold look in his eyes. Jian Wushuang stood in the dark void and stared at Devilish Wind King with a smile at the corners of his mouth. Devilish Wind King, I've realized since earlier on that you were hiding your means all this while. I grew more alert toward you since you managed to escape from being chased by a gold-armored corpse puppet. It seems like my assumptions were correct. You own a gold-armored corpse puppet and a silver-armored corpse puppet. Ha ha. You're really quite strong. Devilish Wind King said with a snicker. So what if you realized? Hong Chen and Long Shenzi have died. What changes can you alone make? The person Devilish Wind King feared the most among the other 5 who entered the secret realm that time was Saber Master, with Hong Chen and Long Shenzi next in line. As for Jian Wushuang and Yi Shen, he did not pay much attention to them from the beginning. It was naturally the same at that moment since he did not pay much attention to them previously. You have a really good plan. Unfortunately, you've calculated something incorrectly, said Jian Wushuang. What did I calculate incorrectly? Devilish Wind King asked. You've underestimated my true strength. Jian Wushuang smiled oddly and instantly moved. Whoosh. The space-time law was directly activated as Jian Wushuang's speed achieved its peak within moments. However, Devilish Wind King smiled in disdain as he pointed at Jian Wushuang. What a joke, kill him. The silver-armored corpse puppet beside Devilish Wind King, who had not made any moves, immediately took action when he received Devilish Wind King's order. Although the silver-armored corpse puppet was not as terrifying as the gold-armored corpse puppet, its combat power was considered top-tier among high-level Grand Ultimate Gods. A silver-armored corpse puppet was capable of fighting head-on with Saber Master for some time, which self-explains his true strength. Devilish Wing King noticed Jian Wushuang might have hidden his true strength previously. However, he truly thought that a silver-armored corpse puppet was sufficient to kill Jian Wushuang with ease. Jian Wushuang smiled coldly when he saw the silver-armored corpse puppet coming toward him. A huge wave of golden divine power immediately coagulated behind him before the 10,000-foot-tall Golden Emperor once again appeared between heaven and earth. He also instantaneously activated the 7 Stars secret technique in his body, which directly raised his realm to another level. At the same time, a layer of dark gold-colored armor slowly appeared on the surface of his body. All 3 secret techniques, Divine God of Punishment, 7 Stars secret technique, and precious armor of the 9 Sparkle Star armor were activated at the same time. Jian Wushuang's strength had increased to its extreme level at that moment. Jian Wushuang then pointed with a single finger following his course of actions. Clatter tilde a wave of hazy dark golden light directly swept across all directions and completely covered the entire area within the blink of an eye. The surging golden divine power sea also came sweeping outward crazily as a huge prison was instantly formed. The 100,000 miles sword world was also directly unleashed without restraints. All 3 domains, Star Armor Domain, Prison of Punishment, and Sword World had superimpose. Boom! The terrifying power immediately suppressed the silver-armored corpse puppet's body. Although the silver-armored corpse puppet was a corpse puppet without any consciousness, his body still suddenly paused under the suppression wave, with his skimming speed also immediately slowed down. Once all of that was executed, Jian Wushuang finally took action with his sword. It was the first time he took action after stepping foot in the secret realm and 30 years of training in retreat. No matter what previously happened in the secret realm, he only showed a small portion of his means and had never used the 7 Stars secret technique or 9 Sparkle Star armor. He also did not unleash his divine power to its extremities. However, his divine power had reached its extreme level at that moment, with him activating all his secret techniques. Silver-armored corpse puppet, let's see if you can withstand this sword attack of mine. A fierce look burst outward from Jian Wushuang's face as he waved forward the Blood Mountain sword in his hand. It was a purely strong sword attack without any additional moves. However, the strength was enough to shake the heavens. The silver-armored corpse puppet suddenly raised his head under the crazy domain's suppression as he fiercely punched forward. The punch came like a huge mountain before both attacks collided with one another. Bang! A low banging sound could be heard. The silver-armored corpse puppet was created using special means and had an extremely strong divine body. However, the silver-armored corpse puppet's outer layer punching hand had directly broken under the collision, with his entire arm twisted. The Blood Mountain sword's domineering power had directly sent the silver-armored corpse puppet falling toward the void below. On the other hand, Jian Wushuang had recovered with a slight tremble of his body. It was completely crushed in terms of power. The silver-armored corpse puppet, with the same combat power as a top-tier high-level Grand Ultimate God, was completely crushed by Jian Wushuang during a collision of pure strength. How's this possible? Devilish Wind King turned pale with fright when he saw what transpired. He had no idea that Jian Wushuang had crushed a top-tier primary-level Grand Ultimate God called for Yi 30 years ago with his full power even before he made a breakthrough. His power back then was already much stronger than for Yi and very close to a high-level Grand Ultimate Gods. At that moment, he had made a breakthrough in his realm and reached the high-level Heaven Ultimate God, which resulted in a great increase of his divine power. As for his secret techniques, his Divine God of Punishment had achieved the 3rd level, and when coupled with the 10,000-foot-tall Divine God of Punishment, his strength at that moment was the highest among high-level Grand Ultimate Gods. He was no weaker when compared to Saber Master and slightly stronger than the silver-armored corpse puppet. It had to be highlighted that the silver-armored corpse puppet could not even use 70% of its true strength under his triple domain suppression. The silver-armored corpse puppet could only be completely crushed by Jian Wushuang when fighting against him under such circumstances in a fight that relied on pure strength. In order not to attract the other's attention, I've greatly downplayed my divine power and secret techniques. It's really a nice feeling now that I can finally take action with my full power." Jian Wushuang smiled softly, but the look in his eyes felt as though it might burst forward like two lightning bolts as he looked over to Devilish Wind King as a strong killing intent began to rise. T. Devilish Wind King's expression darkened. He could see the strong killing intent in Jian Wushuang's eyes. He did not have any means to stop Jian Wushuang with the gold-armored corpse puppet fighting Saber Master and the silver-armored corpse puppet crushed by Jian Wushuang. Run! Devilish Wind King immediately made his decision and wanted to escape with his strong self-protecting means. During his course of escape, he immediately ordered the gold-armored corpse puppet to stop pestering the Saber Master and protect him instead. The gold-armored corpse puppet also did as ordered and immediately gave up fighting Saber Master and skimmed toward Devilish Wind King. However, Jian Wushuang slowly pointed his finger at the Devilish Wind King from the void at that moment. Chapter 2742, The Most Well-Hidden Person, a Finger-Pointing Heavenly Technique. Jian Wushuang mumbled softly. The vast space-time law immediately started moving as he finished speaking. The Devilish Wind King originally had been escaping at a fast speed, but his surrounding space-time had completely stopped at that moment, unable to even put up a struggle. The Devilish Wind King held hints of horror in his eyes as his body had completely paused in the void, incapable of any movements. Even a high-level Grand Ultimate God would find it difficult to endure Jian Wushuang's a finger-pointing heavenly technique with his current strength and understanding of space-time law. Although Devilish Wind King was extremely calculative, his true strength was only a primary-level Grand Ultimate God and unable to withstand the technique. Jian Wushuang had floated forward and crossed paths with the Devilish Wind King's figure within the blink of an eye the moment Devilish Wind King was in the course of entering a stagnant state. Jian Wushuang was holding the sword with one of his hands as blood started dripping from the Blood Mountain sword. The space-time Devilish Wind King located had recovered. However, his eyes were widened with horror and unwillingness as he stared at Jian Wushuang. He could not believe what had happened even till the moment he died. He had calculated everything, including letting Saber Master kill Hong Chen and Long Xianzi before forcing Saber Master into desperation. He only needed to kill Saber Master to obtain all the precious items and opportunities before leaving the secret realm. However, he died in the hands of Su Han, a person he did not pay much attention to in the end. He almost killed Saber Master but died in a mere primary-level Grand Ultimate God such as Su Han's hands. How could he accept such a fate? He was reluctant to accept it. However, his source of vitality had been cut off as it gradually dissipated until it completely disappeared. Devilish Wind King had died on the spot. Hum. Two figures suddenly paused in the dark void. Those two figures were naturally the gold-armored corpse puppet and silver-armored corpse puppet. Although those two corpse puppets were originally under Devilish Wind King's control and stopped moving the moment Devilish Wind King was dead, they were still bound to him even though Devilish Wind King was dead. Therefore, they did not directly attack Jian Wushuang and Saber Master like what previously happened in the first cemetery. The entire dark void entered a short period of silence. Jian Wushuang took Devilish Wind King's precious items and interspatial ring with a wave of his hand before slowly turning around and looking toward Saber Master. Saber Master was also staring at him at that moment. This time, 4 of the 6 Grand Ultimate Gods that entered the secret realm had fallen and only the 2 of them were still alive. Alliance Master Su Han, great means. I originally thought Devilish Wind King had deeply hidden his strength. Who knew you were the one who had hidden his strength the most amongst all of them? Saber Master had a serious look on his face as he spoke with a heavy voice. Saber Master did not pay much attention to Jian Wushuang previously, just like Devilish Wind King. In addition, he had previously fought Jian Wushuang. Although the sword formation Jian Wushuang used was quite strong and comparable to ordinary high-level Grand Ultimate God, it could not threaten him at all. Therefore, he did not suspect anything when Jian Wushuang chose to avoid the battle and escape to the surrounding dark void. Who would have expected such a person to have hidden his strength so deeply? He also saw the means Jian Wushuang used to kill Devilish Wind King just moments ago, especially the sword attack that crushed the silver-armored corpse puppet head-on such that even he dared not look down upon such strength. It was obvious Jian Wushuang's true strength was so much stronger than he previously displayed. Apart from that, Saber Master also realized Jian Wushuang had purposely chosen to avoid the battle and escape to the dark void surrounding them. Jian Wushuang wanted Devilish Wind King to show his trump cards as he waited for the opportunity to reap the benefits without much effort. He grabbed the opportunity to directly kill Devilish Wind King the moment Devilish Wind King had revealed all his cards while the gold-armored corpse puppet had wounded Saber Master badly, forcing Saber Master to his limits. Nobody was controlling the gold-armored corpse puppet and silver-armored corpse puppet anymore with Devilish Wind King dead. Saber Master was also badly wounded, hence the current situation was obviously within Jian Wushuang's range of control. Saber Master, you're the one with the best means as you continuously killed Hong Chen and Long Shenzi. You still managed to hold for so long after facing a gold-armored corpse puppet alone. I really admire your strength. I only wonder how much strength you still have at that moment. Jian Wushuang smiled. Saber Master slightly narrowed his eyes. He was initially slightly wounded from the meteorite bead's impact and being crushed by the gold-armored corpse puppet moments ago had worsened his injuries. He could not yield even 70% of his full strength at that moment. He did not forget that Jian Wushuang had domain-related means which could also hugely suppress his strength. He was uncertain about his capabilities to fight Jian Wushuang at that moment after considering everything. Saber Master said in a low voice, "Alliance Master Su Han, there's no need for us to have a life-or-death fight as we can discuss this in peace. Both of us had obtained a lot of benefits during this journey to the secret realm. I admit I've taken the interspatial ring Master Gu left behind, but am willing to take the interspatial ring out. We can equally divide the precious items inside, including those we obtained from killing Hong Chen, Long Shenzi, and Devilish Wind King. What do you think? Divide equally?" Jian Wushuang's facial expression wavered. He was able to see the huge concessions Saber Master had made. Saber Master would not be so generous under normal circumstances. However, it was obvious that he greatly feared Jian Wushuang under such circumstances and had no other means apart from dividing the precious items equally with Jian Wushuang. What an unfortunate situation, Jian Wushuang sighed softly. What's so unfortunate? Saber Master looked at him. Saber Master, it's unfortunate because of the clan you belong to. You're from the Crimson Stone Fort and the most crucial part is that you're one of the faction's leaders. In addition, you're badly wounded at this moment, so I can't think of an excuse not to kill you under these circumstances. Jian Wushuang smiled softly. Saber Master narrowed his eyes when he heard that. Jian Wushuang's killing intent had already risen from his body. He was telling the truth. He would not have such strong killing intent if Saber Master was not the leader of a huge faction belonging to the Crimson Stone Fort. It was unfortunate that Saber Master a leader of those other factions in Crimson Stone Fort. He supported Yin Suo among Crimson Stone Fort's 7 factions. The greatest problem Yin Suo faced at that moment was the extremely intense internal battles in the Crimson Stone Fort. Yin Suo had been thinking about ways to make a breakthrough and get rid of the internal strifes in the Crimson Stone Fort. However, she never managed to find such an opportunity. One of the factions in the Crimson Stone Fort could be directly dismantled with Saber Master falling there and it would stir up Crimson Stone Fort's internal affairs. It would then be an opportunity for Yin Suo. Chapter 2743, Jian Wushuang vs. Saber Master. No matter if it was to get rid of a large faction in the Crimson Stone Fort to create an opportunity for Yin Suo or so he could gain the most benefits during that trip to the secret realm, Jian Wushuang would not let go of that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Saber Master, make your move. Jian Wushuang smiled as his facial expression turned cold. Saber Master also had an extremely cold expression. His killing intent slightly rose in the eyes as he looked toward Jian Wushuang. Boom! Overpowering divine aura surged as Saber Master attacked in a domineering way as the crimson battle saber in his hand unleashed its strong power. Jian Wushuang smirked as he slowly stretched out his hand and pressed downward in Saber Master's direction. Domain suppression. Boom! A total of 3 huge domains was unleashed at the same time. The Star Armor Domain, Prison of Punishment, and Jian Wushuang's Sword World brought humongous suppression to Saber Master. The assembly of all 3 domains caused Saber Master's facial expression to suddenly change. This suppression is too strong. It's even stronger compared to when he activated it with Long Xianz's Golden Light Domain. Saber Master was secretly horrified. He had no idea that Jian Wushuang had not done his utmost when working together with Long Xianzi to display their suppressing domains. For example, he did not unleash his Sword World's complete power, and neither did he use his Star Armor Domain. Although domains could be superimposed, it was done by 2 different people who would still have some differences when working together. Therefore, it was truly impossible to perfectly superimpose the domains. However, he was executing the Star Armor Domain by himself at that moment, hence its power could be unleashed to the full potential when stacking up to perform 3-domain suppression. Therefore, the suppression he gave Saber Master was naturally stronger than before. Saber Master could barely execute 70% of his combat power as he was badly wounded. At that moment, he was only left with 50% of his combat power when faced with triple domain suppression. Jian Wushuang was naturally unafraid of Saber Master, who could only execute 50% of his combat power. Hum. 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 Jian Wushuang channeled his mind as spacetime blades appeared one by one out of nowhere in the void before him. Each of those 18 spacetime blades contained strong killing power. Those 18 spacetime blades directly attacked Saber Master under Jian Wushuang's control. Saber Master's eyes turned cold as he slightly trembled before flames started pouring out and covered the heavens as he completely turned into a giant made out of flames. The flames covering the heavens started coming together to form several burning beasts that pounced toward the spacetime blades as he made a simple step forward. As a result, those burning beasts were torn from their middle by the spacetime blades before those blades continued to attack Saber Master. D***MNit, the suppression I'm facing is so strong that even the power of my law is largely affected when used. Saber Master's facial expression darkened as he once again sent 2 burning flames from his eyes. Those 2 flames formed 2 flaming battle saber and slashed forward fiercely before those spacetime blades were destroyed. However, a strong wave of wind had already arrived as the spacetime blades dispersed. Waves upon waves of sword shadows could be seen in the void ahead as they came toward Saber Master like a vast sea of swords. Saber Master could only immediately take action to withstand the attack as he completely unleashed the Holy Treasure Battle Saber's power in his hand and crimson saberlights sparkled continuously. Clank, 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 clank. The densely packed clashing sounds could be heard along with Saber Master's extremely darkened facial expression. This is bad, his sword technique is too domineeringly fast and strong. I can't endure it in my current situation. Saber Master could feel a great wave of pressure as he clashed against Jian Wushuang's sword technique. The wave of pressure left him breathless. Whoosh! Saber Master made a move like the sea of flames directly invaded the space ahead before he retreated in a hurry. Whoosh! The heaven-covering sea of flames was directly cut open by another heaven-shattering sword attack. However, Jian Wushuang did not walk through the sea of flames thereafter. Instead, a huge black wood that exuded boundless samsara strength attacked Saber Master in the form of a black light ray. The second sword formation of the transmigration sword formation all sank. Saber Master's facial expression changed when he saw that huge piece of black wood. That sword formation had previously left him with a deep impression when he fought against Jian Wushuang. However, Jian Wushuang had not taken it seriously back then and only showed a little bit of his strength. At that moment, he was going all out, which meant that the power of the huge black wood that was coming to attack him would be so much stronger compared to its previous state. Get lost. Saber Master gritted his teeth and released all of the Crimson Battle Saber's full power as the domineering sword attack directly landed. The saberlight was quick as lightning and collided head-on with the huge black wood. However, the collision. Saber Master could feel his arm slightly numb following the bang as the battle saber almost flew out from his hand. On the other hand, Saber Master was sent flying outward like a cannon. The huge black wood only slightly trembled before continuing its path to attack Saber Master. It has such strong powers. Saber Master had a hint of horror in his eyes, but his rage was much more prominent. Shoal, do you think you can beat me if I'm at my peak state? Saber Master's yell filled the sky as his face turned red with a hint of craziness filling his eyes. Jian Wushuang secretly smiled when he heard the Saber Master yell. He admitted he had been taking advantage at that time. Jian Wushuang would not have many advantages in facing him head-on if Saber Master was in his peak when coupled with the Holy Treasure Battle Saber's support. However, the world was cruel and nothing was fair. If they were speaking about fairness, Jian Wushuang was only a high-level heaven ultimate god. It was truly unfair for him to cross an entire realm to face a top-tier high-level grand ultimate god such as Saber Master in a fight. Saber Master, accept your death willingly. Jian Wushuang had a cold voice as the huge black wood formed from the transmigration sword formation attacked crazily. He also moved his body as he pointed his sword to form a huge sword web that surrounded and covered Saber Master. You aren't qualified to ask for my death. Saber Master was extremely angry and seemed completely crazy while looking on as the huge black wood attacked again. He knew he was unable to withstand it head-on, so he suddenly retreated backward. In the course of retreating, he flipped his hand and took out a red pill. The pill had a pungent fishy smell. Jian Wushuang's eyes narrowed the moment Saber Master took the pill out. Is that? Jian Wushuang was unable to recognize the pill the moment he saw it. However, he knew Saber Master had been forced to the edge by him and that pill must be extraordinary for Saber Master to take it out. It was as indeed as he thought. Saber Master's originally extremely weak aura had a sudden burst and increase after swallowing the pill. Chapter 2744, One More Trick Up the Sleeves. Hum. The sky-high flames once again came surging out with their flame waves red as blood while it crazily burnt everything around it. The star armor domain that filled the surrounding heaven and earth was affected by its bright red domain, with its suppression power also greatly weakened. Jian Wushuang slightly narrowed his eyes as the expression on his face turned solemn. On the other hand, Saber Master's face was completely distorted. Su Han, you should be proud of yourself for forcing me into such a state despite being a mere primary-level grand ultimate god. Saber Master's eyes were extremely red as though he had lost his wits. In addition, not only had he recovered his aura to its peak condition, he even seemed to be slightly stronger compared to his peak. It looks like the pill is something that can increase his strength within a short time with serious side effects. His strength has increased tremendously within a short period with this pill. This is really troublesome. Jian Wushuang slightly frowned. He originally thought Devilish Wind King had already forced Saber Master into desperation when he previously controlled the gold-armored corpse puppet. He chose to take action and killed Devilish Wind King because he felt that Saber Master would have previously used any measures he had left. He never expected Saber Master to have one more trick hidden up his sleeves and only use it at that moment. Die. Boom. Saber Master took action. Heaven and earth were shaken by his move. The momentum was a whole level stronger compared to his peak state when he defeated Hong Chen and Long Shenzi. The endless bright red flames expanded crazily as a wave of overpowering aura directly suppressed Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang dared not act carelessly. The huge black wood formed by 9 infernal crimson divine swords slightly trembled and attacked Saber Master with a horrifying power. Move. Saber Master casually waved his saber as the crimson battle saber holy treasure in his hands looked as though it was covered in a layer of blood. A bloody saberlight was directly sent outward and landed on the huge black wood. Clank. A loud noise could be heard as the huge black wood was sent flying with the slash, and the entire sword formation started trembling crazily as though it was going to be dismembered. Such strength is comparable to even ordinary peak grand ultimate gods. Jian Wushuang was horrified. Although he was horrified, Jian Wushuang was not frightened at all. Jian Wushuang could be seen quickly retreating and did not face Saber Master head-on before concurrently waving his hand, and a wave of flowing light was sent outward before immediately integrating with the surrounding black void during his retreat. Heaven and earth instantaneously changed. An extremely beautiful world from a scroll painting appeared out of nowhere in the surrounding dark void. The beautiful world in the scroll painting looked extremely real. In addition to the mountains and waters, there were also 9 great continents within it. This is. Saber Master frowned as he looked at his surroundings with a bad feeling arousing from the bottom of his heart. 1,000 treasures grand world, spacetime world. Jian Wushuang's cold voice had already sounded at that moment. Rumble tilde changes had occurred to the surrounding heaven and earth. Jian Wushuang's domains and Saber Master's sky-covering flames in the original vast dark void had changed into a spacetime world within the blink of an eye. The spacetime world had a huge number of spacetime cracks and spacetime storms. In addition, there was an uncountable number of spacetime blades in the spacetime world. Those spacetime blades also had terrifying killing power. The entire world was filled with the endless power of spacetime law. It was a spacetime world filled with unlimited spacetime energy, with Jian Wushuang standing in the middle as though he was that world's ruler. Saber Master, welcome to my world. Jian Wushuang smiled as his laughter reverberated in every corner of the world. 1,000 treasures grand world. It was the second time Jian Wushuang had activated the stately painting's power after regaining it. Your world. Saber Master's facial expression changed drastically. Although he was unsure when the void change happened, the simple act of changing heaven and earth alone was enough to terrify him. Let's fight. Jian Wushuang did not say anything more and once again moved his body. His speed had been further increased. The spacetime world was filled with all sorts of spacetime laws, and his originally amazing speed had been greatly improved at that moment. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang had already appeared in front of Saber Master as though he teleported. In addition, a cold swordlight was already attacking Saber Master's throat like a lightning strike. So fast. Saber Master was shocked but immediately reacted with endless flames rising as it burned, and its high temperature almost turned Jian Wushuang into ashes. Waves after waves of crimson saberlights attacked Jian Wushuang from every direction. Jian Wushuang once again disappeared before Saber Master with another move and appeared beside him. D***MNit, his speed has increased by so much. Saber Master's eyes turned blood red with a crazed look as he could sense that Jian Wushuang's current speed was so much faster than previous. He would not have any methods left under such horrendous speed if Jian Wushuang did not want to fight him head-on and only pester him. B****, fight me face to face if you dare. Saber Master yelled out loudly and repeatedly waved the battle saber fiercely while yearning to kill Jian Wushuang. However, Jian Wushuang's figure traveled in an extremely ghostly way and did not meet him head-on. Instead, he relied on his speed and attacked Saber Master at a weird angle from his sides. Although Saber Master was strong, he could only continuously think of ways to withstand Jian Wushuang's repeated attacks and seemed to be in an extremely embarrassing situation. Fight him face on? What a joke. Jian Wushuang scoffed inwardly. Saber Master's full strength had been increased due to the Scarlet Pill. His current combat power was almost comparable to a true peak Grand Ultimate God, yet he asked Jian Wushuang to fight him head-on under such circumstances. Jian Wushuang would be extremely dumb if he did. Although the pill greatly increases his power, the side effects must be great too. In addition, the pill will only take effect for a short time. I only need to rely on my absolute speed and pester him in this spacetime world without allowing him the chance to escape. It'll be extremely easy if I want to kill him after his pill's effect wears off. Jian Wushuang's eyes as he already had an exact plan in his heart. Whoosh. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Under the support of the spacetime world, his figure kept flashing and the speed he released at that moment was so much faster compared to previously. Saber Master could do nothing to him as he was unable to catch up to Jian Wushuang's speed. Although Saber Master kept roaring angrily during the process and tried to fight Jian Wushuang head-on, Jian Wushuang ignored him. A quarter of an hour had passed in the blink of an eye. Chapter 2745, finally killed. The effects of the pill had started to fade away half an hour later with the aura on Saber Master's body starting to weaken crazily. Su-Han. Su-Han. Saber Master stared at Jian Wushuang as his heart was filled with unprecedented unwillingness. He was unwilling to die in such a way but had indeed reached his limits. He wanted to escape into the surrounding dark void or out of the area but was not given the chance to do so. Jian Wushuang was so much faster than him and had easily stopped him. There was no way for him to escape as his strength started to crazily fade away. The pill's side effects had even started to show. Saber Master, didn't you ask me to fight you head-on just now? I will now fulfill your wishes. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently. The 10,000-foot-tall golden emperor shadow exploded in a brilliant golden light behind him. Jian Wushuang made the huge golden god shadow wave both its hands with his thoughts. Those two golden hands expanded at a shocking speed without limits until they covered the sky and the sun. One of the palms was enough to cover half the world while both palms were able to completely cover the surrounding void. Both palms slowly closed in toward the void Saber Master was located. Punishment, divine destruction. Jian Wushuang also shouted out. The terrifying power came exploding from both palms of the golden emperor shadow. At the moment the palms slowly closed up, the void Saber Master was located had been completely imprisoned. Although Saber Master had reached his limit, he had not given up as the purple clock once again appeared engulfing his body's outer layer. The purple clock was originally a strong defensive treasure but needed a period of time to reconsolidate its energy when the protective barrier formed by the purple clock was previously defeated by the gold-armored corpse puppet. The protection barrier of the purple clock had recovered during the period Jian Wushuang and Saber Master was fighting furiously. However, the purple clock's appearance only enabled Saber Master to be alive for a short moment under the current circumstances. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The noise of divine power's crazy impact and extrusion could be heard throughout heaven and earth. The skill Divine Destruction was extremely powerful under Jian Wushuang's full force when he used it. The horrendous divine power suppression directly crushed the purple clock's barrier, but the golden divine power had also been completely used up. Jian Wushuang simply skimmed forward and arrived beside Saber Master with his Blood Mountain sword sliding past Saber Master's neck. Saber Master was unable to withstand the attack as his head was sent flying outward. Saber Master's mouth was still open even though his head had already been sent flying. Su Han, who knew you'll be the one still smiling in the end. Saber Master was completely dead. In the dark void, the beautiful scroll painting world disappeared with a wave of Jian Wushuang's hand as a strand of flowing light returned to his body. Jian Wushuang then looked down at Saber Master's body with a cold expression on his face as a hint of shrewdness surged from his eyes. Saber Master was really strong and a top-tier existence among high-level grand ultimate gods. Apart from that, he had two precious items, the Holy Treasure and Purple Clock, a combination of offensive and defensive with him, and would have still been invincible had he not bumped into peak grand ultimate gods. Unfortunately, he's really unlucky. He was first plotted by Devilish Wind King before bumping into me after being badly wounded by Devilish Wind King's gold-armored corpse puppet. Jian Wushuang secretly sighed. Jian Wushuang's total strength had increased by leaps and folds after 30 years of concentrated training under the assistance of both Fengtian scrolls. His realm had also been improved along with his soaring divine power. He was not any weaker compared to Saber Master at his peak when coupled together with all sorts of means he was capable of if he gave his all. However, he was also not that much stronger. Jian Wushuang might not be able to kill Saber Master were they to carry out a face-to-face fight. However, Saber Master was really unlucky as he was plotted by Devilish Wind King, allowing Jian Wushuang the opportunity to defeat him. Only Jian Wushuang was left alive among the 6 grand ultimate gods, who came into this secret realm with Saber Master's death. Oh yes, the treasures once belonged to them. Jian Wushuang's eyes suddenly lit up. The 6 of them, apart from Yi Shun who died in the cemetery and lost all his items, the precious treasures that belonged to the others were in that dark void. The death of Saber Master, Hong Chen, Long Xianzi, and Devilish Wind King obviously meant that the precious treasures once belonging to the 4 of them naturally became his. For example, the Holy Treasure Battle Saber and Purple Clock that once belonged to Saber Master, the Bronze Mirror that once belonged to Long Xianzi. The Pinnacle Heavenly Treasure Defensive Armor Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen wore and his 2 remaining bronze-armored corpse puppets since 2 were destroyed. In addition, the gold-armored corpse puppet and silver-armored corpse puppet that Devilish Wind King previously controlled also stood intact in the void. The most important item was the interspatial ring, the last blessing old Gu provided. It originally belonged to Saber Master, but all of those things belonged to him from that moment on. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Jian Wushuang was already standing in the void with 2 steps and kept the stagnant gold-armored corpse puppet, silver-armored corpse puppet, and 2 bronze-armored corpse puppet into his interspatial ring. Those corpse puppets were non-living items like war puppets and could be stored in the interspatial ring. Saber Master's interspatial ring and the precious items he was carrying were also taken by Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang felt extremely excited after finishing everything but did not have time to calculate his gains yet. Suddenly, a figure appeared beside Jian Wushuang without any warnings. The person had on a grey robe and was the spirit of the secret realm, Old Gu. Young man, you have really good means. Old Gu had a devilish smile on his face as he looked at Jian Wushuang as though he could see through Jian Wushuang. Thank you for your praises, Old Gu. Jian Wushuang seemed extremely humble but was secretly alert. Jian Wushuang was extremely fearful toward Old Gu. His fear was not only because Old Gu was the secret realm spirit of the secret realm who had absolute means and strength in the secret realm. The most important matter was Old Gus' weird behavior, which seemed like he wanted them to personally search for the interspatial ring when he took it out and threw it into the dark void. However, his true motive was to pit the 5 of them against each other to snatch the ring. In addition, Old Gu said he would only give them 3 hours, but he previously did not appear even though the 3 hours deadline had long passed. On the contrary, Old Gu only appeared after their fight for the ring had concluded with him being the only survivor. He was taking their fight purely as his entertainment. In addition, Jian Wushuang was worried because he used some means to kill Saber Master just moments ago and had even used the stately painting. The stately painting was one of 7 Stars Black Sect's pinnacle premier treasure. Although ordinary experts could not recognize it, Old Gus Master was a strong law lord who might recognize the stately painting. Would Old Gu not take action against him if he recognized it? Chapter 2746. Leaving the secret realm. Old Gu was watching Jian Wushuang strangely in the dark void. Little kid, your name is Su Han, right? Old Gu asked. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. Your methods are quite powerful despite the fact you seem to only be a primary-level grand ultimate god. I always feel that your divine power is a little weird for some reason, said Old Gu. Jian Wushuang's pupils shrank slightly. He had in fact not reached the primary-level grand ultimate god realm and was only a high-level heaven ultimate god. The reason people would mistake him for being a primary-level grand ultimate god was due to the black stone on his body that increased his divine power by 2 realms. The black stone that Daoist Shen Shen personally refined. The black stone had disguised Jian Wushuang's divine power. Although Old Gu could sense something weird, he failed to see what exactly was going on with Jian Wushuang's divine power. Old Gus' eyes flickered with a strange luster. Not only is your divine power a little weird, but the several secret techniques you have performed in this dark void are amazing. Although I can't recognize some of them, I could feel that they are extremely extraordinary. In addition, the treasures you displayed. I can see you have many hidden secrets. Old Gu stared at Jian Wushuang with great interest. Jian Wushuang was silent and said nothing at all. Little kid, don't be nervous. Although I can see you have many hidden secrets, I won't do anything to you. Perhaps my master might be interested in you if he was alive. As for me, I'm just a spirit of this secret realm who has wisdom but not life. They are of no use to me no matter how many secrets you have. Old Gu smiled. Jian Wushuang seemed a little more relaxed. It was indeed as Old Gu said, he was only the secret realm spirit. Just like the divine weapons, they had wisdom but would not turn against Jian Wushuang. In fact, you're powerful while your method and temperament are also perfect. It's a pity your current cultivation realm is still quite weak. If you have a chance to make a breakthrough and reach the Undying Saint realm in the future, you can come to this secret realm again and there's a chance you may obtain the real opportunity left by my master. Old Jiyu smiled. His statement caught Jian Wushuang's interest and he nodded slightly. Well, even the last opportunity one gave out is with you now. You have received enough, so you may leave now and come back again when you've made a breakthrough to the Undying Saint realm, said old Jiyu, and he waved his hand. A spatial passage appeared in the void next to Jian Wushuang. Senior, farewell. Jian Wushuang did not linger around as he moved and stepped into the spatial passage before it disappeared. Old Jiyu stood alone in the dark void watching the place Jian Wushuang disappeared with a strange smile on his face. Funny little kid, he has so many secrets. He has used several great secret techniques with each being extremely powerful. I'm afraid that even my master can't handle them. In addition, there's also that trick, old Jiyu murmured with a rather strange expression. Jian Wushuang had previously used several great secret techniques in the dark void whereby old Jiyu could not recognize most of them, but he did know one particular technique. It was the finger-pointing heavenly technique. It was a divine technique from the Spacetime Palace. Rumors mentioned that the technique was created by the palace master, who was someone my master admired and worshipped. Old Jiyu was praising the technique in his heart. Jian Wushuang left the secret realm after stepping through the spatial passage and arrived at the City of Bones. He was looking at the ancient dense forest that was filled with thick grey mist. Jian Wushuang sighed at the gloomy and mysterious atmosphere. I was quite lucky. Although old Jiyu knew I carried a lot of secrets, he didn't make things hard for me and even told me to make a breakthrough and reach the Undying Saint realm before returning to the secret realm again. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. Jian Wushuang was indeed hoping to return to the secret realm again someday. The secret realm's master was a powerful law lord. He was someone formidable whose strength was beyond the Undying Saint realm. A super expert like him must have left great opportunities and treasures in the secret realm. Jian Wushuang was unable to retrieve it because he was still weak. He would be qualified to take up the challenges in the secret realm again once he became an Undying Saint in the future. I don't know if he'll come again in the future, but I've gained a lot from this trip. Jian Wushuang clasped his hands tight from elation. I have benefited a lot from this secret realm. I should look for a place to settle down first and I'll sort this out. Jian Wushuang moved and headed toward the outskirts of the City of Bones. After leaving the City of Bones, Jian Wushuang immediately found a remote place and cracked open a cave before beginning to organize the treasures he collected in the cave. He had gained a handsome amount of treasures from the trip. The treasures Saber Master, God Hong Chen, Long Xianzi, and Devilish Wind King obtained from the secret realm surprised Jian Wushuang as he took them out one by one and examined them. Bronze mirror. He first took out Long Xianzi's bronze mirror. The bronze mirror could execute the very powerful golden light domain. It turns out it's called Golden Feather Phantom Mirror. Jian Wushuang held the bronze mirror that had already begun to acknowledge Jian Wushuang as its master. The process was rather smooth and it only took a moment for the Golden Feather Phantom Mirror to merge into his body. Thereafter, it fused with Jian Wushuang's mind. Buzz! Mighty streams of golden light instantly diffused out. Those golden rays of light were so dazzling that they permeated the vast void around him, which thereafter a huge pressure domain came into effect. What a strong oppressive force! It's indeed worthy of being a pinnacle heavenly treasure, Jian Wushuang exclaimed. He felt the oppressive force from the golden light domain was much stronger than his own star armor domain and prison of punishment. He believed he would be able to suppress an ordinary high-level grand ultimate god or above in a duel using the golden light domain. It would even work on someone like Saber Master. In addition, the golden light domain was not the only domain oppression Jian Wushuang had. He had yet to display his other secret techniques like star armor domain, prison of punishment, and sword world. Golden light domain is a domain treasure. The star armor domain and prison of punishment are both part of secret techniques. The sword world is a principal oppressive force. Although I have 4 types of oppressive methods, they don't conflict with each other and can even be superimposed on each other. Jian Wushuang excitedly held his hands together. Chapter 2747, Organizing Treasures. Jian Wushuang had previously displayed the triple oppression method that consisted of star armor domain, prison of punishment, and sword world superimposed on each other when he used it to suppress Saber Master, who ended in a miserable state of defeat. He had 4 methods of oppression at that moment with the additional golden feather phantom mirror, all of which were extremely powerful. It would cause a considerable amount of suppression on a high-level Grand Ultimate God or even a genuine peak Grand Ultimate God when those 4 oppression methods were unleashed and superimposed. It would be a great advantage for Jian Wushuang in a duel. After refining the golden feather phantom mirror, Jian Wushuang took out a pitch-black defensive armor that looked like the scales of a ferocious beast. Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen used to wear that defensive armor. This is a pinnacle heavenly treasure defensive armor and is the best defensive armor I've seen, but unfortunately it's been severely damaged. Jian Wushuang disappointingly shook his head. Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen obtained the defensive armor that had the amazing physical protective ability from the secret realm. It was unfortunate that he went against Saber Master, who was using a holy treasure. No matter how strong the physical protective ability of the defensive armor, it could not gain an advantage in the face of a holy treasure. Saber Master killed Hong Chen by making a slit through the defensive armor with a single saber move before finally beheading Hong Chen. The defensive armor's value greatly depreciated after it was severely damaged. Jian Wushuang put the defensive armor aside before taking out the purple Imperial Bell and holy treasure Crimson Battle Saber belonging to Saber Master. Jian Wushuang was carefully examining them. The purple Imperial Bell isn't too bad. Jian Wushuang was grinning. The defensive armor he took out earlier was only good for defending one's divine body, while the purple Imperial Bell was a comprehensive physical protective treasure. It could directly withstand face-to-face physical as well as soul attacks. Therefore, it could also be regarded as a soul defensive treasure. In addition, the force bombarded on the purple Imperial Bell would produce a sonic boom counterattack upon resisting an attack. Jian Wushuang had seen the purple Imperial Bell's potential when it was still in Saber Master's hands. Its defensive ability was extremely powerful since it managed to even repel Long Xianz's meteor bead's terrifying power. The only flaw was its defensive barrier would weaken over time from repeated impacts struck by the opponent. Once the barrier was destroyed, it would take quite some time to recover before being put to use once again. Although its protective barrier could not be immediately restored, its value was still several times more expensive than the pinnacle heavenly treasure defensive armor. Jian Wushuang smiled and immediately claimed ownership of the purple Imperial Bell, which was soon refined and fused into his divine body. My physical protective ability is extremely powerful on top of my perfect immortal body. It's almost impossible for the average expert to kill me. The purple Imperial Bell isn't very useful to me, but since I shouldn't expose my immortal body just yet, it's not a bad idea to use the purple Imperial Bell as a disguise. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. Next, he looked at the Crimson Battle Saber. The Crimson Battle Saber was truly a holy treasure. Even an undying saint would cherish a holy treasure. Jian Wushuang was excited. The defensive armor and purple Imperial Bell are extremely precious, but the Crimson Battle Saber's value is probably more than 10 times the purple Imperial Bell's. Jian Wushuang was beaming. Holy treasure and heavenly treasure were very different. A pinnacle heavenly treasure was definitely far less valuable than an ordinary holy treasure, regardless it was an offensive-type divine weapon. Unfortunately, the holy treasure was absolutely useless to Jian Wushuang since it's a battle saber, so he could only sell it to exchange for the resources he needed. After sorting out those treasures, Jian Wushuang waved his hand and took out an interspatial ring. Jian Wushuang could not wait to explore the contents in the interspatial ring in front of him. It was the final interspatial ring old GU offered and was also the one that made 5 Grand Ultimate Gods compete for it frantically. No one else would know the interspatial ring's contents apart from Saber Master, who initially received it. However, they were still fighting frantically for it even when they knew nothing about its content. They knew very well its contents must be some important treasures. There was no doubt about it. Let me see what kind of treasure did the old man put in this interspatial ring. After taking a deep breath, Jian Wushuang began to investigate the ring's content. Jian Wushuang found there were only 3 treasures in the interspatial ring. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and the 3 treasures appeared in the void before him. It was a silver battle armor, a baby-sized black beast statue, and a dark grey jade slip. Jian Wushuang first looked at the silver battle armor. It looked ordinary at first glance, with a relatively dull color and not releasing much aura. Copious messages flooded in as soon as Jian Wushuang sent out his soul power to examine the armor. Moi battle armor, a holy treasure. Jian Wushuang's eyes went wide. Holy treasure. It's another holy treasure. In addition, a defensive armor type. Jian Wushuang was dumbfounded. Saber Master's Holy Treasure Battle Saber was extremely valuable. It was a known fact that a Holy Treasure offensive divine weapon was far less valuable than a defensive armor of the same level. Among the few treasures that old Jiyu gave, there was a Holy Treasure defensive armor. How much was the defensive armor's value? If the battle saber was something ordinary Undying Saints would cherish, then this Moi armor is probably good enough to cause ordinary Undying Saints to fight for it, mumbled Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang knew that many weaker Undying Saints did not own a suitable Holy Treasure offensive divine weapon, with most still using pinnacle heavenly treasures. Therefore, a suitable Holy Treasure offensive divine weapon would trigger a fierce contest. Indeed, the defensive armor was good enough to make ordinary Undying Saints go crazy for it. "He's very generous," Jian Wushuang exclaimed. Although the Moi battle armor was good, it was also of little use to Jian Wushuang. After all, he had his own life armor, the golden glass armor. Although the physical protective capability of the golden glass armor was far inferior to the Moi battle armor, it was connected with Jian Wushuang's lifeblood. In addition, it could continuously improve its power as Jian Wushuang's strength improves. In correlation to Jian Wushuang's strength increase, the golden glass armor had also been upgraded from primary level to high-level heavenly treasure. It was in actuality at the peak of a high-level heavenly treasure and only a thin line away from being a pinnacle heavenly treasure. The most important part of choosing a divine weapon or treasure was still compatibility toward its user after all. It was sufficient for Jian Wushuang to have the golden glass armor, hence we would not need the Moi battle armor. Chapter 2748. A windfall. Jian Wushuang calmed down and looked at the second treasure, the baby-sized black beast statue. This statue, Jian Wushuang looked at the statue, but could not understand it. He felt an extremely powerful destructive force from the statue. The destructive force was astounding. The baby-sized black beast statue seemed to come alive under Jian Wushuang's gaze as though it was sleeping quietly. This is such an unusual beast statue. Although I can't figure it out, it should be a destruction law-based premier treasure. It must be extraordinary for it to be placed in the same interspatial ring as a holy treasure defensive armor, said Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang moved on from the statue to the third treasure, the dark grey jade slip. Jian Wushuang instantly understood the function of the jade slip with the influx of his soul power. Teleportation. It's teleportation. Jian Wushuang was surprised. The jade slip was imbued with a technique, a teleportation technique. Teleportation, instantaneously moving from one spacetime to another. An expert could execute such means once their perception of spacetime law had reached an extremely high level. Many Undying Saints who were good at spacetime law, including those Undying Saint experts, were not qualified to utilize such methods. It was a highly sophisticated method with an extremely high requirement on spacetime law understanding. In the ancient god domain, few Undying Saints could perform the method. They were the best of the best Undying Saints who were truly invincible. Whoever could perform a teleportation method was no doubt a peak expert. It was no doubt an excellent life-saving method. An Undying Saint who could perform a teleportation method could easily run away from a law lord not well versed in spacetime law under normal circumstances, and the law lord would not be able to catch up. Even when used for normal transportation purposes, simply relying on one's feet to move around was completely different from using a teleportation method. It was why countless experts were envious of those who could perform teleportation methods. Unfortunately, it was a method mastered by exceptional experts who were good at spacetime law. Jian Wushuang's understanding of spacetime law was far from being able to perform a teleportation method. However, the jade slip in his hand was imbued with a teleportation method. As soon as he smashed the jade slip, the teleportation method would kick into effect and immediately teleport him to another place. In other words, the Jade Slip was an excellent life-saving method. 3 treasures: Holy Treasure Moi Battle Armor, the destructive lore-embedded baby-sized black beast statue, and life-saving Jade Slip containing a teleportation method. Jian Wushuang shuddered. The value of those 3 treasures was amazing. Among those 3 treasures, the Moi Battle Armor and Beast Statue were of no use to him. Although the Jade Slip was equivalent to an additional life-saving trump card for Jian Wushuang, it could only be used once. In the future, he could crush the Jade Slip and escape if he was in a desperate situation, a life-and-death crisis that he could not resolve. However, it did not guarantee absolute success. Saber Master, who was driven to desperation by Jian Wushuang, did not crush the Jade Slip in the end. It was useless to crush the Jade Slip in the first place because he was in a different space-time. He was in a secret realm under the influence of a unique space-time method that nullifies the Jade Slip's teleportation method. If he similarly met a top expert who was good at space-time lore outside the secret realm, the Jade Slip's teleportation method might not be able to help him escape. Nonetheless, those 3 treasures were pleasant surprises for Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang had gotten too many treasures in one go in addition to the Golden Feather Phantom Mirror, Purple Imperial Bell, and Holy Treasure Battle Saber. In addition, Saber Master, Hong Chen, Long Xianzi, and Devilish Wind King were grand ultimate god experts and wealthy, especially Saber Master, who was the leader of a faction within the Crimson Stone Fort. The numerous resources those people once possessed fell into Jian Wushuang's hands. There were also a couple of corpse puppets. Devilish Wind King had previously obtained a gold-armored corpse puppet and a silver-armored corpse puppet. Hong Chen received 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets where Jian Wushuang had killed 2 of them while the other 2 were still in great shape. Those corpse puppets had now fallen into Jian Wushuang's hands. After he properly refined those corpse puppets, they would be controlled by him. Those corpse puppets had the combat power of a peak Grand Ultimate God, a powerful high-level Grand Ultimate God, and 2 ordinary high-level Grand Ultimate Gods after all. Not forgetting, Jian Wushuang had received 5 golden Huangji pills at the beginning that were of equally extraordinary value. After adding all those treasures, Jian Wushuang had made a windfall fortune. It's indeed a fortune, a windfall fortune. Jian Wushuang was over the moon over the surprises. Soon, he managed to recover from feeling surprised before starting to refine those corpse puppets in the cave. Although no one was controlling those corpse puppets, it would still take a while for Jian Wushuang to refine them. It was not too bad since had Jian Wushuang tried to refine the Moi Battle Armor or the Holy Treasure Defensive Armor, it would have taken a much longer time and he had no idea when it would be completed. Therefore, it explained the reason Saber Master was unable to use the Moi Battle Armor in the duel against Jian Wushuang as he did not have time to refine it. A month soon passed. The 4 corpse puppets were finally refined and completely under Jian Wushuang's control. I have strong combat power on hand from today onward. A gold-armored corpse puppet, a silver-armored corpse puppet, 2 bronze-armored corpse puppets, Old Snake, and myself. My Sword Alliance combat power should be comparable to Danyang Continent's top forces when based purely on the highest Grand Ultimate God's combat power, right? Jian Wushuang smiled. He knew that there were a lot of activities occurring in the Danyang Continent under the radar which placed Yin Sua in a very difficult situation. Chapter 2749, Meeting Yin Sua. Jian Wushuang once again returned to the sacred palace with his disciple status. He immediately went to meet Palace Keeper Sai Zhen within a magnificent-looking palace upon his arrival. Palace Keeper Sai Zhen, please help me send a message to the Fort Master and tell her that I'd like to see her, said Jian Wushuang with a smile. Palace Keeper Sai Zhen frowned and looked at Jian Wushuang. You want to see the Fort Master? Jian Yi, you may not know about this, but the relationship between the factions within Crimson Stone Fort is very delicate during this period and there are signs of chaos happening. I suggest if you don't have very urgent matters. Jian Wushuang waved his hand before Palace Keeper Sai Zhen could finish and said, Palace Keeper Sai Zhen, please send the message as I want to see her because of some major issue which will affect the situation within Crimson Stone Fort. In that case, wait a moment as I send a message to the Fort Master now. Palace keeper Sai Zhen immediately sent a message to Yin Suo before receiving a reply within a short moment. Jian Yi, the fort master said, shall find time to see you later. She hopes what you want to tell her is really very important, said palace keeper Sai Zhen. Don't worry. Jian Wushuang smiled confidently. Jian Wushuang waited quietly in the magnificent palace. A tall and beautiful woman with an oval face who was wearing an ice blue gown appeared in the palace after half a day. The beautiful woman was none other than Yin Suo. Jian Yi, what can I do for you? Yin Suo looked cold. There's something about Saber Master, answered Jian Wushuang. Saber Master? Yin Suo was surprised. There were 7 factions within the Crimson Stone Fort. Although Saber Master belonged to a small faction, his faction still carried a lot of weight and influence in the Crimson Stone Fort. In addition, Saber Master was rather powerful with similar strength as Blood Thunder King, who controlled the Crimson Stone official army, with only weaker being weaker than the Fort Master and Grand Elder Yun Shan, who were peak Grand Ultimate Gods. Therefore, Yin Suo had never considered Saber Master as someone paltry. What's the matter with Saber Master? Yin Suo looked at Jian Wushuang curiously. Fort Master, you probably haven't got this news yet, but He's dead, said Jian Wushuang with a grin. What did you say? Yin Suo was shocked to hear the news. Palace keeper Sai Zhen had also been alerted. Jian Yi, did you say that Saber Master is dead? How can this be possible? I just got the news that Saber Master had gone to cultivate in seclusion not long ago. He seems to be at a very important cultivation stage and told his followers not to disturb him unless necessary. Yin Suo looked at Jian Wushuang dubiously. Jian Wushuang gave a simple wave before a purple battle saber appeared in his hand. Fort Master, do you recognize this battle saber? Jian Wushuang smiled. This, Yin Suo and palace keeper Sai Zhen's pupils constricted as they looked at the saber and were startled. Palace keeper Sai Zhen said, this battle saber indeed belongs to Saber Master. I've seen him use this many times and can't be wrong about it. How did this battle saber appear in your hands? Is Saber Master really dead? Jian Yi, how did Saber Master die? Why is his battle saber with you? Did you kill him? Yin Suo frowned slightly. She initially did not believe Saber Master was dead. However, she knew it must be true the moment she saw the battle saber. Yin Suo was immediately reminded that Jian Wushuang could be the person who killed Saber Master since the battle saber was with him. However, she was still uncertain, as even she might not succeed in killing Saber Master. How can Jian Yi possibly kill Saber Master? It doesn't matter how he died and who killed him. What's important is that He's now dead. The faction he belongs to will definitely fall apart without a leader in control. The entire Crimson Stone Fort might be affected and turn chaotic. Fort Master, you have to make early preparations, said Jian Wushuang. Yin Suo and palace keeper Sai Zhen looked solemn. Saber Master was rather influential in the Crimson Stone Fort. His death would indeed cause a great deal of impact in the Crimson Stone Fort. The most important matter was his faction's collapse might also in turn affect the situation of several other factions. Although there were incessant internal conflicts among the Crimson Stone Fort for years, there were no overt conflicts. There were the occasional assassinations, but the situation was under control nonetheless. The situation in Crimson Stone Fort might be disrupted with Saber Master's death. Saber Master's death will definitely wreak havoc in Crimson Stone Fort. This is definitely an excellent opportunity for me to take advantage of the chaos to wipe out the other factions and unify Crimson Stone Fort. However, my current strength may not be enough for me to carry out the plan, said Yin Suo coldly. Saber Master's death and the subsequent chaotic future situation were seemingly a good opportunity for her. However, it was true that she was not powerful enough to handle the situation. Her current strength was inadequate even to go against Grand Elder Yun Shan or Blood Thunder King's faction. It was absolutely impossible for her to completely smoothen out all the major factions. The best scenario was she might get lucky and reap more benefits from those factions, but gaining control over them would be challenging. Fort Master alone may not be enough to take this opportunity to smoothen out the other factions, but matters will be different with my assistance, said Jian Wushuang with a smile. You Yin Suo looked at Jian Wushuang quizzically. Palace Keeper Sai Zhen was also staring at Jian Wushuang. Jian Yi, I know you're the Sword Alliance master that has been stirring up the situation in the Danyang continent over this period of time. Am I right? Yin Suo asked. She had always paid attention to Jian Wushuang and knew Jian Wushuang was creating his own force. Although Jian Wushuang had never revealed the name of the force he had created, Yin Suo and Crimson Stone Fort had the capabilities to easily discover it. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. It's indeed amazing to be able to create a huge sword alliance in the Danyang continent within just a few decades. In fact, the Sword Alliance is as powerful as first-rate forces, but there's still a long way to go for the Sword Alliance before it is capable of threatening the situation in the Crimson Stone Fort or exercising influence over Danyang continent. Yin Suo shook her head. A long way to go. That's not necessarily. Jian Wushuang smiled with absolute confidence. He then waved his hand before 4 figures appeared out of thin air beside him. Those 4 figures were the 4 corpse puppets he obtained from the secret realm. Fort Master, can you see what these are? Jian Wushuang smiled. Are these war puppets? No, they must be some cultivators, but they are so lifeless. These must be corpse puppets. Yin Suo narrowed her eyes. You're right. They are corpse puppets. I'll get them to greet you. Jian Wushuang grinned before waving his hand as the gold-armored corpse puppet immediately raised its head. Chapter 2750, Handling the Treasures Boom. The gold-armored corpse puppet made a move without any warnings. It discharged a horrifying breath of aura before soon appearing in front of Yin Suo using just one long stride and swiftly drew out a battle saber. Yin Suo's eyes sank slightly as she lifted her jade-like hands. A spear appeared in her hands as she spun her spear around and thrust. Clang! The gold-armored corpse puppet was instantly sent back into its original position when her spear and the gold-armored corpse puppet collided. Yin Suo was slightly shaken up with traces of surprise in her eyes. A peak grand ultimate god. Yin Suo's beautiful eyes were frozen on the gold-armored corpse puppet's body. How do you feel, Fort Master? Jian Wushuang smiled. Jian Yi, where did you get this corpse puppet? Yin Suo asked solemnly. Well, I don't want to disclose how I got it, but I wonder about your thoughts on it. Do you think this gold-armored corpse puppet in my hands can compete with ordinary peak grand ultimate god? Jian Wushuang asked with a smile. Yin Suo pondered for a moment and replied, yes, this corpse puppet is enough to fight against the ordinary peak grand ultimate go in a one-on-one duel. Even if I take a shot by myself, I'm probably capable of suppressing it with my strength. That's indeed the case. This gold-armored corpse puppet is completely under my control. In addition, I also have a silver-armored corpse puppet and 2 bronze-armored corpse puppets which are equivalent to 1 extremely powerful high-level grand ultimate gods and 2 ordinary high-level grand ultimate gods. Considering all of them and myself, I wonder if you think the Sword Alliance can change the situation within the Crimson Stone Fort? Jian Wushuang explained with a wide grin. A gold-armored corpse puppet, a silver-armored corpse puppet, and 2 bronze-armored corpse puppet. Yin Suo narrowed her eyes to focus while deep in thought. She then nodded after a while. If we have these corpse puppets helping us alongside my careful planning and execution, I think there may be a chance to succeed. I don't think many have found out about Saber Master's death yet. I guess probably only a few of his faction's henchmen might have found out about it, but I'm sure they will try to keep the news to themselves, so there shouldn't be any chaos within the Crimson Stone Fort for now. Fort Master, you should have time to prepare, said Jian Wushuang with a smile. Yin Suo's eyes lit up and she continued, that's right. However, the other top forces in Danyang continent have also been eyeing the Crimson Stone Fort apart from the major factions who wanted to expand their influence within Crimson Stone Fort. I'm afraid those top forces won't miss the chance to reap benefits if they notice Crimson Stone Fort is going through some major changes. Fort Master, rest assured that he'll be putting pressure on those top forces as much as possible during this period to distract them, said Jian Wushuang reassuringly with a faint smile. Jian Wushuang spoke after a momentary pause. By the way, there's one more matter I wish to discuss. I have a few treasures with me but unfortunately don't have the right channels to sell them. Could you please help me with them, Fort Master? What are those treasures? Yin Suo looked curiously at Jian Wushuang. She gained a lot the last time Jian Wushuang gave her a royal blood gem weighing 130 catties, which helped relieve a fair bit of her pressure. She wondered what good things Jian Wushuang would share with her at that moment. Fort Master, you should take a look at the battle armor I have first. Jian Wushuang took out the tattered battle armor. This is a pinnacle heavenly treasure battle armor. Yin Suo was surprised before started shaking her head. It seems powerful and perhaps considered top tier among pinnacle heavenly treasures, but it's a pity this battle armor has been damaged with an exorbitant repair cost. Jian Yi, are you going to exchange this battle armor for divine elixir pills or the primordial stones? Yin Suo asked. Only divine elixir pills, replied Jian Wushuang. Your battle armor is of an extremely high level. It'll probably be worth 7,000 to 8,000 divine elixir pills if it's in good condition. However, its value has probably halved now that it's been badly damaged. I can get you at most 3,000 divine elixir pills, explained Yin Suo. 3,000 divine elixir pills isn't bad at all. Jian Wushuang smiled before taking out something else. He took out a saber and a crimson battle saber. Yin Suo and Palace Keeper Sai Zhen were taken aback to see the crimson battle saber. Holy treasure! It's a holy treasure battle saber. It's a holy treasure. Even Yin Suo was shocked when Jian Wushuang took out the holy treasure battle saber. It was a holy treasure after all. Jian Yi, you have a holy treasure. Palace Keeper Sai Zhen stared wide-eyed at Jian Wushuang. I was lucky, Jian Wushuang answered with a smile. He was not lying, as he was indeed lucky to be able to get so many treasures from the secret realm. This battle saber isn't of much use to me. I wanted to let the gold-armored corpse puppet use it, but the gold-armored corpse puppet was only a corpse puppet after all and may not be able to utilize the holy treasure battle saber's full potential, hence it has very limited room to improve its combat prowess. However, I do need a lot of divine elixir pills to improve my cultivation realm, so I need your help to take care of this battle saber for me. Jian Wushuang explained his situation with a smile. Yin Suo could not help but feel overwhelmed when she heard Jian Wushuang. A holy treasure. Even when Yin Suo's father, Crimson Stone Saint, was alive, he had the opportunity to only come across one throughout his entire life, which went missing upon his passing. Therefore, there was no holy treasure in the Crimson Stone Fort at that instance. In other words, Yin Suo did not have a holy treasure on hand. However, did Jian Wushuang just casually took out a holy treasure and asked for her help to dispose of it? Jian Yi, this is a holy treasure after all. It's not any ordinary piece of treasure. Are you sure you want to exchange it for divine elixir pills? Yin Suo was puzzled. Of course. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. In Jian Wushuang's opinion, a treasure was of no value if he could not use it. A treasure that was not usable was only a piece of useless ornament. It was better to exchange it for much-needed resources. I'll find a way to sell your battle saber as soon as possible in that case, said Yin Suo. Do you know how many divine elixir pills this battle saber can be exchanged for? Jian Wushuang asked. Well, I haven't handled a holy treasure weapon before, so I don't know the specific price for it. However, it shouldn't be difficult to sell for a few 10,000 divine elixir pills, said Yin Suo. 50,000 divine elixir pills. I need 50,000 divine elixir pills. I wonder if it's possible? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes. Yin Suo nodded. Although she had no idea of the specific price of a holy treasure, it shouldn't be difficult to sell it for 50,000 divine elixir pills or more. That's fine. Jian Wushuang smiled. He had previously accumulated a certain amount of divine power. If he could get his hands on 50,000 divine elixir pills in addition to those divine elixir pills he obtained from killing Saber Master and the other grand ultimate gods, he should be able to make another cultivation realm breakthrough and cross over to the peak heaven ultimate god realm. Chapter 2751. A gift. Jian Wushuang's divine power would improve tremendously once he made a breakthrough to the peak heaven ultimate god realm, as it would also bring about a great improvement in his overall strength. At that time, He should be able to calmly face peak grand ultimate gods in a duel. Fort Master, I shall be waiting for your news. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and immediately turned to leave. Yin Suo and Palace Keeper Sai Zhan remained standing in place after Jian Wushuang left from being overwhelmed by what transpired. What do you think, Palace Keeper Sai Zhan? Yin Suo looked at Palace Keeper Sai Zhan. Palace Keeper Sai Zhan replied, it's unbelievable. I could see Jian Yi had great talents when he first appeared in front of me, but his strength at that time was still rather weak, so I can't see the possibility of him influencing Crimson Stone Fort's situation. However, only a few decades have passed since, and he has already gained control over such a powerful force. Palace Keeper Sai Zhan was indeed shocked and impressed. Jian Wushuang had just shown them a gold-armored corpse puppet, a silver-armored corpse puppet, and 2 bronze-armored corpse puppets which were equivalent to the combat power of a peak Grand Ultimate God, a very powerful high-level Grand Ultimate God, and 2 ordinary high-level Grand Ultimate Gods. No one in Crimson Stone Fort's various factions or the Danyang continent's top forces dared trifle with such a strong lineup. In addition, there were the treasures Jian Wushuang just took out. I was shocked the last time he took out the 230 catties of royal blood gem. This time around, he showed us such a valuable holy treasure that even Crimson Stone Fort is unable to produce. Even Crimson Stone Saint only had 1 holy treasure when he was still around. There were various expressions shown on Palace Keeper Sai Zhan's face. Yin Suo also nodded solemnly. I also feel it's unbelievable. I think Saber Master's strength is ranked top 10 in the entire Danyang continent, right? I might not even be able to kill him, but he's now dead and his weapon is with Jian Yi. His death obviously has a lot to do with Jian Yi. This guy definitely has some incredible techniques. I really don't know how many secrets he's hiding. Fortunately, Crimson Stone Saint invited him to help you and is our friend and not a foe. Otherwise, Palace Keeper Sai Zhan narrowed his eyes. Although Jian Wushuang only exuded the aura of a primary-level Grand Ultimate God, both Yin Suo and Palace Keeper Sai Zhan dared not look down upon Jian Wushuang, as his existence would deeply disturb them if Jian Wushuang were their enemy. Yin Suo solemnly said, regardless, Jian Yi now controls such a powerful force and the Sword Alliance seems to have risen very quickly. We may be able to gain heaps of benefits from this opportunity with his help. Palace Keeper Sai Zhan, you should prepare as soon as possible now that Saber Master's death isn't known to many, and while we still have time and the situation in Crimson Stone Fort is stable for the time being. Yes. Palace Keeper Sai Zhan nodded. Yin Suo was deep in thought on dealing with the Holy Treasure Battle Saber given by Jian Wushuang and obtained 50,000 divine elixir pills for him. Jian Wushuang immediately returned to the Sword Alliance after leaving the Sacred Palace. He sat on the throne in the lofty hall while listening to Xiao Taishan, Long Shan, and the others reporting on the many things happening in the Sword Alliance during his absence. The Sword Alliance had long established itself amongst first-rate forces, with its combat power growing stronger alongside the Divine Sword Army's growth and expansion. It became extremely powerful among the first-rate forces that no one in the Danyang continent dared to get on their wrong side. Its overall strength was constantly improving due to the large number of resources being pumped in. Jian Wushuang just nodded slightly after listening to their updates. He had handed over the Sword Alliance's management to Xiao Taishan and the others a long time ago. Jian Wushuang might not have trusted the others completely, but he had absolute trust in Xiao Taishan. All of you may go now. Shina, would you go and get Old Snake for me? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes. Xiao Taishan and the others immediately left. Old Snake met Jian Wushuang not long after. Alliance Master. Elder Snake humbly saluted Jian Wushuang. Old Snake, how are you doing in the Sword Alliance? Jian Wushuang asked with a smile. I think I'm doing fine, but matters aren't as casual as before, replied Old Snake. Old Snake was an independent expert and used to be carefree. It was normal for him to feel a little uncomfortable while adapting to the changes after accepting Jian Wushuang's invitation and becoming the first elder in the Sword Alliance Elder's Palace. Take your time to get used to it. Jian Wushuang smiled before flipping his hand and taking out a pill. Old Snake, what do you think this is? Jian Wushuang handed the pill to Old Snake. Old Snake looked at the pill before his pupils shrank sharply. Such a potent, majestic aura. Is this the Huangji Golden Pill? Old Snake sounded excited. Huangji Golden Pill was extremely useful to Grand Ultimate God cultivators. It was no different for Old Snake. He had stayed at the Primera level Grand Ultimate God realm for a long time and faced a bottleneck in his journey to make a breakthrough. The Huangji Golden Pill would be very helpful to him in improving his cultivation realm. Under normal circumstances, the chance of a Primera level Grand Ultimate God making a breakthrough and reaching the high-level Grand Ultimate God realm after swallowing the pill was around 30%. However, Old Snake was stuck at the bottleneck for so many years that his pure divine power and perception of the laws and principles had reached the requirements for making a breakthrough. The probability of him making a breakthrough was at least 50% if he meticulously made preparations for the breakthrough. The 50% chance of making a breakthrough was enough for Old Snake to do everything possible and fight for a Huangji Golden Pill. It was even more so with the Huangji Golden Pill placed in front of him. Alliance Master, this Huangji Golden Pill. Old Snake was very excited but looked a little hesitant as he dared not directly ask Jian Wushuang for the pill. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly before throwing the Huangji Golden Pill to Old Snake. It's of course for you since you're the first elder in the Sword Alliance Elder's Palace and this Huangji Golden Pill is useful to you. Old Snake was trembling in disbelief, but immediately asked, are you really giving it to me? Alliance Master, don't you need this Huangji Golden Pill? Do I need it? It's of no use to me. Jian Wushuang shook his head and smiled. He was indeed telling the truth. The Huangji Golden Pill had great effects on ordinary cultivators, be it a Heaven Ultimate God or a Grand Ultimate God. However, its effect was minimal for Jian Wushuang. It's nothing but just one Huangji Golden Pill. In addition, I have more than one. Jian Wushuang smiled and immediately flipped his hand to take out 4 identical Huangji Golden Pills. Chapter 2752, The Name List of Experts. You have 4 more? Old Snake was dumbfounded when he saw Jian Wushuang take out 4 more Huangji Golden Pill. Huangji Golden Pill was extremely scarce not only in Danyang Holy Domain but even the entire 9 realms of Golden Crow. The previous pill that appeared as Star-Picking Pavilion Auction's final treasure had caused a huge sensation. In the end, the top forces alongside their Grand Ultimate Gods went forth and fought frantically for the pill. It was hard to get even one Huangji Golden Pill as it took great opportunity and methods to obtain it. Jian Wushuang surprisingly took out 5 Huangji Golden Pills at that moment. Old Snake was certain the Danyang continent would turn into tumult if news spread that Jian Wushuang alone had 5 Huangji Golden Pills, with countless experts making their way to get their hands on those pills without a doubt. Jian Wushuang was toying with the 4 Huangji Golden Pills in his hand when he murmured, I have 5 Huangji Golden Pills, but they're of no use to me. I still have 4 left after giving Old Snake one. I'd better put these 4 to better use. Jian Wushuang looked at Old Snake. Old Snake, you were previously an independent expert. Tell me, do you think those other independent experts like yourself will agree to join me if I offer them these Huangji Golden Pills? Old Snake frowned and pondered for a moment before speaking. The Huangji Golden Pill is extremely valuable and appealing to Grand Ultimate Gods, especially some Grand Ultimate Gods who had been stuck in a cultivation bottleneck for a long time. The Huangji Golden Pill is of great help to Grand Ultimate Gods in helping them to make a breakthrough. It's something precious for them to fight for, therefore I think most of those experts would agree if you put the Huangji Golden Pills up as an offer to recruit those Grand Ultimate God. Of course, there are some experts with weird tempers who might stick to their principles. Those experts won't join any forces even if they wanted a Huangji Golden Pill. In other words, you mean it's entirely up to the experts to decide? Jian Wushuang asked with a smile. Yes. Old Snake nodded. Jian Wushuang's eyes wandered as he thought of an idea and said, Old Snake, you have been in the Danyang continent for so long and should have known quite a few experts here. Can you recommend a few powerful Grand Ultimate Gods to me? I can. What are your criteria for these Grand Ultimate Gods? Old Snake asked. Firstly, they must be powerful and have the qualifications worthy of me giving them these Huangji Golden Pills. Secondly, They must not be vicious or some bloodthirsty devils and not be too close with any of the other top forces. Lastly, the most important matter is that their credibility must be guaranteed, said Jian Wushuang. Old Snake was startled. Credibility? Are you worried they won't keep to their word? Jian Wushuang nodded. Yes, I'm offering them the Huangji golden pills to enhance their strength, so we'll give them the Huangji golden pills in advance. I don't want to see them ignoring the terms and conditions agreed upon and left after being given these Huangji golden pills. Even though I could kill them to vent my anger, it's a waste of Huangji golden pills. Understood. Please wait while I quickly sort out a list of experts, said Old Snake. Jian Wushuang waited patiently. After half a day, Old Snake appeared once again in front of Jian Wushuang and handed Jian Wushuang a list with names of experts. Alliance Master, I've written a list of experts that we can target. There are 10 people on this list, in which among them are 3 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods and 7 Primary-level Grand Ultimate Gods. All of them are very powerful and extremely eager to get their hands on some Huangji golden pills. As per your criterion, these 10 people have nothing to do with any top forces but had some enmity with them. As for their credibility, these 10 people value their reputation, so they won't go back on their words after forging an agreement, said Old Snake. Jian Wushuang took the list and began to scrutinize it. He was not only provided with the names of those 10 Grand Ultimate Gods but also detailed information including some of their achievements and experiences listed in great detail. Jian Wushuang looked carefully for a moment before nodding in satisfaction. He was very happy with those 10 on the list, especially 2 of them. Of those 2, one was Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin while the other one was a Primary-level Grand Ultimate God with terrifying strength. Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin was famous in the Danyang continent and far more well known than many other high-level Grand Ultimate Gods. The reason being Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin was the first-ranked Primary-level Grand Ultimate God recognized by the entire Danyang continent. He used to face off against 2 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods while still only a Primary-level Grand Ultimate God. Although he was at a disadvantage in the battle, the 2 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods could not harm him and ended up allowing him to escape. No one else in the Danyang continent held similar achievement records except Jian Wushuang. Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin was also very loyal to his wife. His wife, the love of his life, was accidentally killed by an expert from one of the top forces. Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin immediately launched frenzied revenge and killed all those high-level experts of that particular force after finding out about it. However, his wife could not be brought back to life no matter how much he avenged her. Therefore, his heart had become incapable of love from there on, which led to him being called Ju Xin. Furthermore, Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin was not only loyal but also extremely stubborn and arrogant according to the list's description. He would ensure he completed it regardless of whatever he wanted to do. On the same line of thought, he would also do his best to fulfill his promises. Jian Wushuang admired such character in terms of both strength and temperament. Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin was Jian Wushuang's first target choice in his recruitment. The second person was a high-level Grand Ultimate God called Strange Old Tong. He was called strange and old from living for too long. He was an expert from Crimson Stone Saints era. Strange Old Tong was already a famous high-level Grand Ultimate God before Crimson Stone Saints' emergence. Strange Old Tong was very famous in the Danyang continent due to his high ranking amongst high-level Grand Ultimate Gods, being no inferior to Saber Master. He was stuck at the high-level Grand Ultimate God realm for too long and therefore eager to make a breakthrough. Chapter 2753, Winning Over Experts. 1. Strange Old Tong has been in the high-level Grand Ultimate God realm bottleneck for too long. There's hearsay he has attempted in making a breakthrough to peak Grand Ultimate God realm several times but failed. It seems that he has made his absolute best preparation from my observation. The Huangji Golden Pill isn't very effective for high-level Grand Ultimate God as it can only increase the success probability by 10%, but it should be enough for him to do his best and fight for it, muttered Jian Wushuang. The information Jian Wushuang had on Strange Old Tong mentioned his rather strange behavior but was someone who kept his words. Jian Wushuang no doubt longed to recruit such an expert. In addition to Grand Ultimate God Jushin and Strange Old Tong, the other 8 people on the list also had high credibility and great strength, which fulfilled the requirements Jian Wushuang had set forth and hence were within his recruitment targets. Alliance Master, I'm in touch with a few of these 10 people on the list. Should I contact them and find out if they're interested? Old Snake suggested. Jian Wushuang shook his head. No need to be so troublesome. Can you find out where they are now? I'll personally make a trip to meet them. Alliance Master, you mean you plan to meet and recruit them in person? Old Snake was startled. Of course, let's start with Grand Ultimate God Jushin. Where is he? Jian Wushuang asked. Jian Wushuang set off on his journey soon after learning Grand Ultimate God Jushin's location. At a barren mountain somewhere in the middle of some desolate vast land. The hilly Palace Mountain, the place Gravel Castle was located. It was where Grand Ultimate God Jushin lived. Jian Wushuang's figure arrived in the void before the Gravel Castle and diffused a faint breath of divine power in the area. Swoosh! A small figure immediately skimmed out of the Gravel Castle and greeted Jian Wushuang. Who are you? Why are you here? A thin and weak woman wearing green stared closely at Jian Wushuang. Are you Grand Ultimate God Jushin's maid? Jian Wushuang glanced at the green-clad woman. Based on the information Jian Wushuang received, Grand Ultimate God Jushin had a maid whom he rescued many years ago. The grateful maid stayed by Grand Ultimate God Jushin's side and had feelings for Grand Ultimate God Jushin. However, Grand Ultimate God Jushin loved his deceased wife too much and had closed his heart off after his wife's passing. The maid knew that very well, so she merely stayed beside Grand Ultimate God Jushin's as a maid and never regretted her decision through all those years. Could you please report to your master that Sword Alliance Master Su Han is here to visit him? Can you kindly ask him to come out and meet me? Jian Wushuang asked with a polite smile. Sword Alliance Master? The green-clad woman was surprised. She had been with Grand Ultimate God Jushin for years and was exposed to many matters in the Danyang continent. Naturally, she had heard of the Sword Alliance. The Sword Alliance Master's name, Su Han, was famous in Danyang continent. He was known for his achievement of killing a Primera-level Grand Ultimate God while still a Peak Heaven Ultimate God. Alliance Master, please wait a moment as I report to my master. The green-clad woman immediately went into the castle. After a long time, the green-clad woman was out of the castle again. My master invites you to join him in the castle, said the green-clad woman. Jian Wushuang immediately walked toward the Gravel Castle under the green-clad woman's guidance. Not long after, Jian Wushuang arrived in a vast hall with a man wearing black sitting at the top of the hall. The black-clothed man seemed to have been through a lot in his life, but his gaze looked indifferent. His dull eyes reflected his feelings of emptiness which could be seen on his impassive face. He was indeed a man in great despair. A pleasure to meet you, Grand Ultimate God Jushin. Jian Wushuang smiled and looked at the Grand Ultimate God Jushin, who seemed to have lost the capabilities to experience emotions. I've heard of you, Alliance Master Su Han. What brings you here today? Asked Grand Ultimate God Jushin. I'm here to invite you to join the Sword Alliance. Jian Wushuang was very frank with his intentions and made it clear without beating around the bush. Really? Grand Ultimate God Jushin was not surprised at all. He was a famous figure in Danyang continent for many years. Many forces had found him and explained their intention in the same manner as Jian Wushuang. He had gotten used to receiving recruitment invitations a long time ago. Alliance Master Su Han, you might not know this, but several top forces like Crimson Stone Fort, Nanwu Palace, Life and Death Tower, Divine Demon Sect, and Dongfang Clan had come forward to invite me to join them. They offered me attractive terms in return, but I remained here in my place, said Grand Ultimate God Jushin. Jian Wushuang's expression was indifferent. I know a lot of forces would naturally want to invite you to join them with your level of strength. Those forces failed to recruit you probably for only one reason. The conditions they offered might not be attractive to you at all. Are you saying you have something that's able to attract my attention? Asked Grand Ultimate God Jushin. Jian Wushuang smiled without speaking as he flipped his hand and took out a Huangji golden pill. Grand Ultimate God Jushin, I wonder if this pill can attract your attention? Jian Wushuang asked with a wide grin. Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin's indifferent expression was startled the moment Jian Wushuang took out a Huangji golden pill. His eyes shrank sharply as his gaze was immediately locked onto the Huangji golden pill. Huangji golden pill. Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin's complexion became extremely solemn all of a sudden. He had been in the Primera level Grand Ultimate God realm for a long time and never had a chance to make a breakthrough. He was tempted when a Huangji golden pill was placed in front of him. Alliance Master Su Han is so generous that you're willing to give away a Huangji golden pill to recruit me. The other top forces in Danyang continent don't dare to do what you just did, said Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin. The top forces in the Danyang continent had previously offered Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin a sufficient amount that was rather attractive to him. However, those offers were nothing in comparison to the Huangji golden pill. The difference was too vast. It was of course also impossible for those top forces to produce a Huangji golden pill to recruit him. Firstly, the Huangji golden pill was a rare find that even those top forces had difficulty getting their hands on one. Secondly, they would leave it for their best and most loyal disciples even if they had one. They would certainly never use it to recruit a Primera level Grand Ultimate God. I wonder if this pill is sufficient to entice you in joining the Sword Alliance. Jian Wushuang asked with a smile. Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin glanced at Jian Wushuang but shook his head after. I must admit that though the Huangji golden pill is indeed very attractive, it's unfortunate that I still can't agree to join you. Chapter 2754, Winning Over Experts, 2:0. Jian Wushuang slightly frowned. I'm just an overly stubborn person and won't change any decision I've made. I've said many years ago that I won't join any forces no matter the number of benefits given or whoever gives it. Therefore, I can only reject your kind offer, Alliance Master Su Han said Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin. Jian Wushuang smiled happily when he heard that without any hint of anger. Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin, why don't we exchange the conditions since you aren't willing to join any forces? I don't need you to join my Sword Alliance, but only need you to obey my orders for the next 1,000 years, which means the Sword Alliance is hiring you for 1,000 years with a single Huangji golden pill. What do you think? Hire me. Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin was moved by the suggestion. It was natural for him to be against directly joining and serving the Sword Alliance. However, if it was just a job with them only hiring him for 1,000 years, matters would be different. Hiring him for 1,000 years meant he would be working for the Sword Alliance during that 1,000 years. However, he could leave without any hesitation once the 1,000-year period was up. He would not be a member of the Sword Alliance from the beginning till the end, hence it could be considered that he had never joined the Sword Alliance. As he was sitting on a chair in the Grand Hall, Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin tapped his fingers on the armchair as he started thinking in silence. He looked up again after a while. Alliance Master Su Han, I admit I can't think of any reasons to reject your offer. Jian Wushuang smiled when he heard that before throwing the Huangji golden pill to Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin with a wave of his hand. You can directly consume this Huangji golden pill and try making a breakthrough to a high-level Grand Ultimate God. However, I wonder how much time you'll need. Jian Wushuang asked. A maximum of 3 years. Regardless if I've successfully made a breakthrough and become a high-level Grand Ultimate God within 3 years or not, I'll head to the Sword Alliance to obey your commands thereafter, said Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin. All right, I'll be waiting for you in the Sword Alliance. I hope you won't disappoint me. Jian Wushuang glanced at Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin before turning around and leaving. In the Grand Hall, the lady in green clothes stood beside Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin. Master, will you really head to the Sword Alliance after 3 years? The green-clothed lady looked at Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin in surprise. Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin smiled indifferently. Of course, since when have you seen me go against my words? The green-clothed lady was stunned. Alliance Master Su Han was willing to hand me the Huangji golden pill so early on because he believed in my character. What kind of a person would I be if I don't go to the Sword Alliance 3 years later? Grand Ultimate God Jushin asked. His right hand held on to the Huangji golden pill tightly while a calculative look flashed through his eyes. The Huangji golden pill was something he really needed. Jian Wushuang soon caught up with strange old Tong after leaving Grand Ultimate God Jushin's place. Huangji golden pill? A longing look also flashed through the eyes of a sloppy and dirty old man who was wearing ordinary-looking grey clothing as Jian Wushuang took the pill out. This Huangji golden pill will be yours if you agree to fight for my sword alliance for 1,000 years, said Jian Wushuang directly. Fight? The sword alliance had already become a first-rate force in the Danyang continent based on my understanding. Apart from that, the alliance is considered one of the strongest first-rate forces. However, you're still thinking of ways to gather experts for a fight. Could you aim to be one of the pinnacle forces? Strange old Tong did not directly agree to Jian Wushuang's offer but asked such questions instead. Yes, the Sword Alliance isn't satisfied with being one of the first-rate forces, said Jian Wushuang. If that's the case, the Sword Alliance might go against the Divine Demon Sect in the future. The look in strange old Tong's eyes sharpened. It's not a so-called possible, but a definite will. The next target of the Sword Alliance is the Divine Demon Sect, said Jian Wushuang directly. Great. I want this Huangji golden pill of yours, said strange old Tong. Jian Wushuang could not help but secretly smile. He had obtained information from Old Snake earlier that strange old Tong had a weird way of doing things and had some accumulated grudges against several forces in the Danyang continent. The Divine Demon Sect was among the forces he had the deepest hatred from a long time ago. Now that Jian Wushuang had taken the Huangji golden pill out and directly highlighted the fact that the Sword Alliance would go against the Divine Demon Sect, strange old Tong immediately agreed to it. I can give this Huangji golden pill to you now. You can try to make a breakthrough right now if you're well prepared. However, I'll wait for you for only 3 years. Will this 3-year time be enough? Jian Wushuang asked. 3 years. That's too short. I've previously tried multiple times to make a breakthrough to the peak Grand Ultimate God. Now that I have the Huangji golden pill to assist, this should be my chance with the greatest certainty, hence I naturally need to prepare to the best of my ability. As such, it'll be impossible without another 10 to 20 years. How about this? I'll follow and fight for you first while I'll try making a breakthrough again when the Sword Alliance has some idle time, said strange old Tong. All right. Jian Wushuang nodded. The strange old man then immediately followed Jian Wushuang as Jian Wushuang continued to win over other experts. There were 5 Huangji golden pills. He gave one to Old Snake, one to Grand Ultimate God Jushin, and one to strange old Tong. He also managed to win over 2 other experts on the list with the remaining 2 pills. Although they were only Primera level Grand Ultimate Gods, they promised to fight for the Sword Alliance for 1,000 years. There were 3 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods that were extremely strong on the expert list Old Snake previously gave him. However, Jian Wushuang only managed to find strange old Tong while one of the remaining 2 had disappeared many years ago and nobody knew if he was dead or alive. The other person had also disappeared some time ago and nobody knew that person's whereabouts. Therefore, Jian Wushuang could only invite Primera-level Grand Ultimate Gods. At that point, he had managed to win over 1 high-level Grand Ultimate God and 3 Primera-level Grand Ultimate Gods with those 4 Huangji golden pills. In addition, 1 or 2 out of those 3 Primera-level Grand Ultimate Gods might be able to make a breakthrough to the high-level Grand Ultimate God realm with the Huangji golden pills' assistance. I've used up all 5 Huangji golden pills. What I need to do next is to wait in silence. Jian Wushuang returned to the Sword Alliance and started waiting while meditating. News of Saber Master's death had not been disclosed, hence the Crimson Stone Fort and Danyang continent was still quite peaceful. 3 years had passed in the flash. Grand Ultimate God Jushin and 2 other experts that Jian Wushuang invited had come to the Sword Alliance. However, when they met Grand Ultimate God Jushin once again, the divine power omitted from him showed that he had reached the high-level Grand Ultimate God realm. Congratulations, Grand Ultimate God Jushin. Jian Wushuang looked at Grand Ultimate God Jushin with a smile on his face. It's all thanks to Alliance Master Su Han's Huangji Golden Pill, or it won't be so easy for me to make a breakthrough. A smile appeared on Grand Ultimate God Ju Shin's face, even though he had always been someone indifferent. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.